Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, we're going to be talking about a wonderful way that we can begin to support the body's natural healing system. As many of us know, there's been many debates about stem cell research and how it could benefit mankind. We also remember that during the George W. Bush administration, he was about ready to scratch out the ability for stem cell research to even be able to continue, basically saying this is a part of science that we actually should consider ourselves to be able to close the door. We also believe that a lot of that was probably motivated by his religious beliefs. Well, as we all know, religion and science should work well together, but neither of them should decide what the other should be able to do. Well, that was a long time ago, and we're finding ourselves a lot further along than we were then about this debate, because back then it was about taking stem cells from embryos. That's right, that seemed to be one of those sort of moral issues, again, stemming from beliefs. But in this day and age, we don't need to do that too much anymore because science has found ways to get around all that, to have things happen more naturally. On the program today, we're going to be talking about a wonderful company out there that's done just that. They found a way to stimulate adult stem cells to be able to multiply in better quantities so that the human body can begin to experience the healing response and the ability to be able to shine as it does what it does naturally. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today representatives from a wonderful company simply known as Stemtech. We're joined today on the Beyond 50 radio program by our special guests, Ms. Jamie Vasquez and Dennis Kluber. Guys, welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program.
Hello there.
Thank
How
you.
are you doing?
Doing well. I guess that's one way to do it when you have clarity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Jamie, Dennis, tell us about Stemtech and how this came onto the horizon, what their mission is when it comes to stem cell research and how they've been able to help the body to have a better healing response.
Well, Stemtech Health Sciences has a scientist by the name of Christian Rappeau, who has many years of experience behind him in the research field. And, of course, his first clue was that there were some Indians that were making claims about getting well, different health problems that they were experiencing, and they were getting well from consuming a natural product taken from Klamath Lake in Klamath Falls, Oregon. And from that, he said to himself, wait a minute, one product certainly cannot address that many different types of health issues in a person. And he was dealing with that kind of a confusion. And one day, he got a letter or an email, I would suspect, from a fellow scientist that said, Christian, did you hear that they discovered that a stem cell can now become a brain cell? And in his mind, he immediately connected the dots and said, this may be the key to what I've been looking for. And so he postulated a hypothesis called the stem cell theory of renewal. And based on that hypothesis, he began his research work. And from that research work, he found out that in this blue-green algae, there was a compound in there that actually caused the body to naturally release adult stem cells from the bone marrow. And what I'd like to clarify here, Daniel, for the audience, we're talking about adult stem cells that we have as living human beings right now in our bone marrow. We're not talking about taking stem cells from a fetus or an embryo of an unborn fetus. Because when a baby is born, as soon as it has come out of the mother's birthing canal and has taken its first breath, those embryonic stem cells that were in that unborn baby now are classified as adult stem cells. Even the adult stem cells in the umbilical cord are now classified as adult stem cells. So there's not a moral issue there anymore because we're not working with any of the embryos prior to birth. So I think we're on the healthy side. What you said, science and religion should be able to work together, and in this case, it is working together.
Oh, very good. Now, you were talking about Klamath Lake. What I'd like to find out is to understand what it was that was at the lake that is located in Oregon that these particular natives were actually getting that involves the Stemtech company.
The lake in Oregon called Klamath Lake at Oregon is in fact, I looked it up on the map here, some couple of years ago, but it's down in the southwest corner of the state of Oregon. Not just I don't know, I suppose it's about 20 miles north of the California border. And it is pretty much, there's a crater lake that actually drains into Klamath Lake. And Crater Lake, being a very deep volcanic lake, carries some tremendously rich water as runoff. And that feeds Klamath Lake, which gives its rich material in the water that promotes a very special blue-green algae. I have been told that there's only 3 lakes in the world that grow this specific type of blue-green algae. Klamath Lake, Oregon, happens to be one of them. So we're fortunate to have one on our continent where we live.
Okay. So what were they getting from this lake that was creating this wonderful support for the body?
Well, it's called blue-green algae. It's a very simple plant that grows in the water. It does not have a root system. It depends solely on lots and lots of sunshine. It gets its nutrition through the ionic or the ion process of picking up nutrients in the water itself. And it's extremely, extremely rich. I just read a book not very long. Algae Comes to the Rescue. What a phenomenal book. It's just incredible how rich that product is in so many areas, protein and minerals and antioxidants, and the list goes on and on and on. So it is a wonderful product to start with, but the fact that it does contain the compound is what's important here, that causes our own bone marrow to give up those adult stem cells so they can migrate into the blood system and move throughout and end up in the organs that need to be repaired, and that's what they're good at doing.
Okay. Now, what is it, though, about adult stem cells that seems to, this sounds to me like it's very foundational to the body's healing response. Why is that?
Well, that is an excellent question, Daniel, and a very appropriate one. When we're just kids, for instance, and we're out playing, and we fall down, we skin our knee, and it starts bleeding, and we're crying, it hurts. We run into Mama, and she'll clean it off and put a little Band-Aid on and give it a kiss and give us a little pat on the butt and say, it's going to be okay, go out and play, you'll be just fine, and away we go. And in just a couple of days, take the Band-Aid off, and it's all healed. Well, somebody back then should have asked the question, why did that heal so fast? What caused that to take place? And what did the healing actually was the adult stem cells in that young child's body. But here's the unique thing that we don't really or never understood before. In a body of a baby or a young person, when I say young person, I'm going to take that age up to about 25, 26 years of age. That person has in its bone marrow a material that the bone marrow is pretty much made up of the red pulp material that actually has the capability of producing a lot of adult stem cells. Once we reach about 26, 28 years of age, that red part is replaced pretty much with a yellow type of fat. And the only areas of our body that have lots of adult, or the bone marrow itself, the red bone marrow itself, is our rib cage and our pelvic bone area. Has the most abundance of that red bone marrow that produces the abundance of adult stem cells. So, as a child, their bones are rich, very rich in that red bone marrow. So they have an abundance of adult stem cells. And, of course, it's that abundance that repairs their little problem so very, very fast. Mm-hmm. And that's how it happens. Mm-hmm.
So it sounds to me that when we're children that we seem to have plenty of this going on in our circulatory blood system, but as we get older it seems to go down and be less and less, and perhaps, and I don't, I'm not a scientist, but it sounds like healing response seems to take longer, we tend to age, and we're just not as healthy as we used to be. Have they figured out why that is?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. The question you just had is a perfect question. We don't know exactly why it is. We know the fact that the bone marrow, as it matures, the red portion of the bone marrow is replaced with this yellow fat material, so there isn't the tissue there left as red bone marrow to produce the adult stem cells, with the exception of in our pelvic and rib cage area. So that plays one part, but one thing we know for sure that the more activity we can give our bodies, very, very likely the more adult stem cells we're going to have floating around in our circulatory system. Mm-hmm. Is it diet? Is it lack of exercise? Is it habits like maybe alcohol, smoking, drugs, that sort of thing? Is it whatever, in excess of stress, emotions? We put that all together, and probably that does play a part as well. But I think the most controlling factor is the fact that the red bone marrow is replaced with this yellow fat substance that's now taking up the space that normally produced the adult stem cells. Now it's not there. We have less of that surface area to produce those adult stem cells.
Now, Jamie, you've been pretty silent there on the other end of the line. I would kind of like to get your point of view here on how you have seen people helped when it came to them discovering what Stemtech has been able to provide to people.
Oh, okay. I have worked as an in-home caregiver for the elderly about 15 years now, and I was building a small home-based business. When I learned about the Stemtech products, it was at a networking group here it was in Woodland, and there was an LPN sharing with us about adult stem cell nutrition. This was something entirely unknown for all of us present at that meeting at that point, and for me it was to be life-changing, as we say, whereas most others at the group were just kind of like listening. About a year earlier, my son Sean, who was then 32 years old and having a very serious blood sugar problem since age 2, had been hospitalized for about 7 months, and he was in this condition becoming worse after a low blood sugar caused his body to crash, and it caused life-threatening changes like a stroke on the left side, 23 bleed-outs to the brain, level 2 kidney failure.
Wow.
And he was unable to even speak at this point and to move to the left side, because that's all on the left side of the brain. And the doctor said that the synapses would start to connect eventually. Well, it was about 2 months before he was even able to speak, and just barely, and that was a learning process. And he couldn't even write. When you think about people, well, he could just write something. Well, he couldn't even do that because the brain has to connect to the hand. So all of these things, for 7 months of his life, he was in the hospital. Then it was like 22 months of his whole life. From the next point was 15 months in a foster care program for medically fragile adults in Gresham. Mm-hmm. And after learning about these products, I joined the business so I could give this Stem Enhanced product to my son. And so I asked him in November when we saw this of 2009. And so I asked him if he would like to have me do this for him, if we could get the product that would help him to repair his body. And he was very eager. I was not aware at the time when I did this, bought this product for a business, that the doctors would not allow patients in the state-run care homes to use natural supplements without a doctor's order. That was the barrier that I encountered, and I fought their system for 8 months to give this to my son. And we finally did it through signing a piece of paper releasing all doctors of any of this. You know, if I gave this product to my son, I accepted all the responsibilities for it. So we saw incredible changes in him, like in August of 2010. We began giving him this product, and within 2 weeks, paste white cheeks were showing peach color, and while he sat in a chair 3 times a week, 4 hours, having a blood cleansing for impurities in his body. He was more alert and said he was sleeping better, using only half the suggested serving of the product because his body was so very fragile. He could only take one in the morning, one at noon, after he got out of that chair, had lunch. Then he would have one at bedtime, which was 8 o'clock for him. And so this was showing in a person who's extremely health challenged, very health challenged. So 3 weeks later, he was admitted to OHSU for a surgery, and I was told by his caregiver before taking him there that his blood pressure was going into normal range. And a year earlier, he had lost his eyesight from this problem, blowing the blood vessels behind his eyes. So when I mentioned this to the doctor at OHSU, he said Sean's blood pressure was pristine, which was incredible considering a year earlier. And this was only about 5 weeks now into his taking this product. He died a month later at age 34 from a stomach disorder that's common to people with severe sugar problems, and that's what started his process 2 years earlier, was the stomach caused him to aspirate.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your loss, Jamie, but it sounds like there was a phenomenal recovery that just about had a chance for him to have a much better life it sounded like he had before that had happened.
And I believe the fight for 8 months caused some of those problems. We could have gotten to him a lot sooner with this product had we not had that obstacle.
Now, Jamie, you mentioned something about getting involved in the business, so it sounds to me like my understanding is that you don't go out and get a prescription from a doctor for this, or you certainly don't find it on store shelves or in general nutrition centers and the like. So tell us about that first of all, and so where you come to find this, and why they chose to, I guess, be as exclusive as they are about its distribution, about getting it out to people, if it does what you're telling us it does.
Well, without sounding like an infomercial, this product comes from people speaking like myself and Denny, and basically in conversation with people, because our product is brought to the world through a network marketing company. It's like direct sales, okay, like your Avon lady. But we are not out there on a commercial on the television set. We are not a household name yet. So being 7 years old, it took a while for like Amway and all these others to become household names. And so when I saw this, like I said, it was a lady who was talking about it in our little group. And so that was the reason. And this company has done this for the purpose of this off of a shelf in a store so that people who are building business independent of stores and going to a JOB can have their own business. And so they want that ability to be out there for us. And so we have to get it out to the people. If you're taking and looking at these products on a shelf, you have no clue what you're looking at. It takes a little bit of research, even on our part, to know what our product is, to talk to people. And it's not that we don't have that ability. We have tools to give us everything we need. That's what's so incredible, is we have tools that do the job of my speaking, more or less, and I give information to people that way. So they don't have to go out there to a shelf. And we have access to the product because we don't want it going into the pharmaceutical arena, which it isn't a pharmaceutical in the first place. But people will look for those kind of things at the store. But it's not going to be in the GNC store either because, again, it's a direct sales marketing product.
Well, I can also imagine, too, that it would be hard-pressed for me to walk into a Costco, let's say, and have somebody standing there with a hairnet peddling sausage, appetizers, and trying to tell me that something like this would actually, improve, for instance, a significant health challenge that your own son had.
Right. Well, I have seen Costco displays where they're trying to sell us Advil and the healthy drinks and et cetera. So it's not uncommon, but you wouldn't find us there, you're right.
Okay. Well, especially with something like that, because I would imagine, Dennis, from what you were telling me earlier, that this here with stimulating the circulation of adult stem cells, and again, it sounds like what it does from what you've been saying is it stimulates adult stem cells that our body already naturally makes, so it doesn't extract it from an outside source, as we talked about earlier, the moral dilemma of extracting it from embryos, for instance, but it comes from a natural source. Part of it is a blue-green algae, which is found in Klamath Lake, which is located in Klamath, Oregon. This is something that natives have known there from what it sounds like centuries, as they've had tremendous health. They've been able to put this into something that is available to the public that sounds like it's safe. So let's address that first of all. How safe is this for everyone to use, or is it exclusive and people should really watch out according to maybe allergies, things like that?
No, those are wonderful questions, Dan, and I like your way of summarizing what we've talked about for the listener because you really bring it into focus. Well done, well done. How safe is it? Well, I like to tell people, and I compliment them on asking the question, and I say to them, do you ever go to the grocery store to buy a fresh head of lettuce or cabbage or a fresh bunch of carrots? Oh, sure, I do it all the time. I said, do you bring it home and then prepare it for your family and you eat it? Well, yes, that's the whole idea. And you don't worry about whether it's going to hurt you in any way or not? No, it's just food. I said, that is the key word. Blue-green algae is nothing more than the best quality of food that you could possibly consume. It's a plant. It's very healthy for you, and so it's very safe. I might add, we are not, as representatives of the company, in a position to, come right out and recommend this or that to a person. That is reserved for a doctor to do. But I have had some feedback from people that said this. Women that have nursed babies and had a baby that was just crying all the time, like there's something wrong with it. They would take the capsule apart and actually dust their wet nipple with the green powder that's inside that capsule and let the baby nurse on that, and it isn't very long after that the baby is doing just fine. So there's something there that helps even a newborn baby. So if you can give it to somebody that young, I would say we're probably on the right track with something with no side effects that I know of. I have never read a side effect of the product anywhere in the literature. So that's a good thing.
Now, I'm curious, Jamie or Dennis, whichever, as we're just about out of time here, but if you could, as briefly as possible, let us know, is there any third-party testing on this to kind of validate, the safety of the product, for people?
Do you have any comments you want to make on that, Jamie?
I know that we are patented, which means we have to do extensive research, as also the fact that we have the white papers, they call them, as meaning research has been proven to show what we're saying works. So our product does precisely what we say it does. So having full patent on something is pretty much where I've understood it to mean that this product will be used for many things as far as health for people. Another thing I wanted to mention is that the Vatican just came out with a book for they're having a stem cell research conference next week, the 11th through the 13th, but they came out with a book yesterday called The Healing Cell, and that book is available now on Amazon.com. So we are in the right direction, and we say that this is the year of the stem cell in 2016 because of the scientists in the Nobel Prize winning the award last year for Nobel Prize. And then we believe that the future is going to be in stem cell nutrition versus the stem cell transplant because it costs $60,000 or more for a stem cell transplant, and that's only for a particular organ, not to release it into the entire body through capsules.
This is fascinating. Real briefly, Dennis, tell us about your experience. And it sounds to me when you say, Jamie, that when they go and they do a stem cell extraction, it's usually for a specific organ. So, a quick light goes on for me that says, so what does this do? Help heal and repair organs as well? And when you say that, it sounds like, that compared to what you're saying here with Stemtech, is this actually goes everywhere in the body, or at least stimulates stem cells to go everywhere in the body and do healing and repair, rather than in just one area, but in all areas.
That's correct.
Okay. And Dennis, quickly tell us, what kind of an influence this has had with your life.
Well, first of all, it was I referred to it as divine appointment. I knew nothing about the product. I got a call from an ex-brother-in-law just checking in to see how we were doing. And both my wife and I were not doing well at all. I turned 79 this last February, and I actually had made plans for my burial. I went to the cemetery people and picked out our lot and coffin because I knew my time was up. And I have an absolute new lease on life. I have an abounding amount of energy. I was able to cancel my surgery for my knee replacements. My stiff neck left me. My incontinence left me. My gingivitis is gone. I don't have ringing in my ears anymore. The floaters in my eyes are gone. I have more strength in my legs than I've ever had. And I feel just wonderful, Daniel. I just cannot say enough for the product and what it's capable of doing. And what Jamie spoke about, where you go and get a specific implant of adult stem cells. Let's say you had a bad heart, and I have a friend here in Spokane, Washington, that had a bad heart, and he went to Thailand for an adult stem cell implant. And what they did is extracted adult stem cells from his own bone marrow, sent them to Israel. They increased the numbers substantially in Israel at a lab that's specialized in doing that. They returned those adult stem cells to the doctor in Thailand. He calls his patient in, puts him to sleep, injects the needle with the use of X-ray equipment right into the damaged section of his heart, injects the adult stem cells, and $55,000 later, he sends him home. Now, that's $55,000 later, but here I want to tell you what the dilemma is. That only lasted him for 4.5 years.
Wow.
Now, his heart went bad again, and he went to the Dominican Republic. Why did he go to the Dominican Republic? Well, he shopped around. He found out he could get the same job done for $35,000. So it's a money-making deal, Daniel.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, we have a man in South Africa that was sent home. He was supposed to get a new heart, but he was not capable. He was not capable of going through the surgery. The doctor said you would die on the operating table. So he had to go home without the new heart. Fortunately, someone approached him about this, and 7.5 months later, the hospital called up and said, we have another heart for you that matches you. Would you come in? And he said yes, and they did a pre-op, and in the process of doing the pre-op, they found out, the doctor said, oh my goodness, Johann, you do not need a new heart. He said, what do you mean? He said, your heart is perfect. There's nothing wrong with your heart. And Johann, all he did was take the blue-green algae.
Wow.
That's all. And his adult stem cells, his own adult stem cells, did the work. That's the key. It wasn't really the product that did anything. The product simply got the adult stem cells out of his bone marrow, into the bloodstream, and the messenger system from the damaged heart said, get over here. We need some repair work done. And that's exactly what they did. And today, the man has got a smile on his face and a spring in his step, and his wife is so excited. She's got a happy, healthy husband once again.
Very good. For the listeners out there, we're talking with Jamie Vasquez and Dennis Kluver. They are both telling us about a wonderful company out there simply known as Stemtech. What they have is a wonderful product that as you take this, my understanding is that it stimulates the natural production of stem cells that the bone marrow produces. As we were talking about earlier in the program, this is something that apparently as we get older, it begins to reduce and we start feeling the effects of aging, or healing response slow down, and goodness gracious to think about also the environmental toxins as well as, the way that we produce our food. So, the body really takes a real hammering, so you can find out how we can begin to reverse this process while at the same time increasing the healing response and just feeling a lot better about how we feel internally can also translate out to our external world. I want to thank both of you here for being on the program today. Fascinating how science is going in a wonderful direction with more direct ways to help people achieve their health goals. If you could, please give me a website where people can find out more about this.
Okay, it's Leo, L-E-O, the number 4, Jamie, J-A-M-I-E, Stemtech, S-T-E-M-T-E-C-H, biz, B-I-Z.com.
Okay.
Leo for Jamie, stemtechbiz.com.
Okay, Leo number 4, Jamie. Okay, is that what? Okay, so Leo for Jamie. It's .stemtech.com, right?
Stemtechbiz.com.
Stemtechbiz.com, okay. Well, I want to thank both of you for being here on the program and letting people know more about what is available out there. Again, as you suggested, talk to your doctor, get them involved in this process as well. Don't take someone who maybe you've never met their word for, but certainly the stories are compelling. And find out what this may be able to do for you, as Jamie suggested with her website. Visit her and get some questions answered, do your due diligence, and find out how this can help you to achieve the health goals that you're looking for. I want to thank both of you for being here on the Beyond 50 radio program. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, Daniel, just for your listeners' benefit, they may appreciate knowing that this is available for their pets, cats, and dogs, as well as for the horse lovers. It does the same for them as the product does for the human being. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And Daniel, thank you for allowing me to be on this interview with you. And Jamie, it's been a real joy. I look forward to doing it again someday if you'd like to do it.
Thank you.
All right, I want to thank you. I want to also thank the listeners out there for tuning in to find out more about this as well. We will have a hot link for you. Visit 2 places. There is the beyond50radio.blogspot.com. That's beyond50radio.blogspot.com. That is the number 50. We'll have that posted up there for you, and we'll also encourage you to sign up for our free weekly e-news update. We'll have that there for you as well. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.